Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you all are doing well today. My name is Elliot and welcome back to the Fragrance Well. So today's topic of discussion is going to be fragrances that don't last that long and it shouldn't matter. Oh man, I know I just pissed off a lot of guys. I know how much some of you just love performance. Fragrance is not even a good fragrance if it doesn't perform well. Well, hear me out. I'm gonna talk about some fragrances that don't perform well, and I think in particular to these fragrances, they shouldn't necessarily perform all day long. I'll give you reasons as to why for each one. There's a variety of reasons. We're gonna talk about it right now. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and get into it. The first one's coming from the house of Lalique. Lalique White. Lalique White. This fragrance is fresh and spicy. A lot of spices, some fresh spices, some warm spices to balance it out, and has a good dose of bergamot. There's a note of lemon leaf in the top of this, and it dries down with kind of a musky, woody, ambery dry down. The fragrance has a little bit of an old school vibe to it. It's a very easy to wear fragrance, kind of a office kind of scent, if you will, kind of a kind of run errands kind of fragrance, not super expensive. Why am I not tripping that this one doesn't last all day long? Because it's not an all day fragrance. You might get 6 to 8 hours out of this at best, but it's probably more of a 6-hour fragrance. But why do I not have a problem with that? Well, number one, I think it's from a cost effectiveness standpoint. I don't think this fragrance would be able to sell for the price it goes for. If it were made to be one that would last all day long, they'd probably have to use some heavier ingredients to get it to last longer. But that also leads to what I think is really the main reason as to why this fragrance doesn't last long, and I'm okay with it. I don't think the fragrance would come across the way it does if it had stuff in it to make it last longer. It would need a lot heavier ingredients to make it last longer, which means that's going to change the composition of how the fragrance comes across, and that's probably not what the creative director wanted this fragrance to do. So I'm okay with it, and it works the way it works. What I would use this fragrance for is probably an office scent, and particularly if I'm not working like 12-hour shifts, this fragrance would work just fine for me going to work. This is primarily what I would use it for. So I'm okay that it doesn't perform. Once again, this is Lalique White. Okay, so the next one is coming from the house of John Varvatos. This is Artisan Pure. Very popular fragrance, but definitely known to not be a big performer. But you know what? I think most people kind of understand that they're okay with this one not performing that well because, number one, the fragrance is very affordable, and number two, it's a very simple fragrance that does what it does very well. It is fresh and uplifting and great for the high summer heat. Very simple note breakdown with this one. It has citrus notes, petitgrain, iris, and woods. For them to make this fragrance last a lot longer if they wanted to, I think it would have to have a lot of added, heavy base notes to it, which would honestly take away from the freshness of this fragrance, so I don't think the fragrance would work the same if you made it that way. But at the end of the day, this fragrance is so affordable off of discounters and even at full retail, not a super expensive fragrance, that you can reapply it. You can reapply it a lot, and the way it wears is it has that airiness, that freshness to it. If you made the fragrance very dense, it would not come off that way. It wouldn't work the same. This one's one of my favorite summertime fragrances, and I have no problem with reapplying it throughout the day if I want to keep that fragrance profile, and if I want something different after it's gone through its wear in the earlier parts of the day and I want something else in the evening, well, the fragrance has died down enough to where I can just spray something else over it and it won't be a problem. That's why I have no problem with this not being a heavy performer. Once again, this is John Varvatos Artisan Pure. All right, so this next one's coming from the house of Versace. Versace Man Eau Fraiche. Another very well-known one in the community, overwhelmingly popular with people in the community, and also known as one that does not perform well at all. In my opinion, this one actually is worse than Artisan Pure in terms of performance. This is like a 4-hour fragrance. But it smells amazing. It is great for the high heat. This is one of my go-tos when I just want to spray something on, when I know I'm going to do something that I'm going to be very hot while doing. It's going to be hot outside. I'm moving stuff around. I just literally douse myself with this stuff. Features notes like starfruit, white lemon, clary sage, cedar leaf, musk, and amber. It's fresh, it's citrusy, has a little bit of an aromatic feel to it. The fragrance is very affordable from discounters. It's not super expensive at full retail either. So it's easy to re-up. I don't mind respraying it if I want to keep that scent profile through the day, but similar to Artisan Pure, if I want to wear something else later on in the evening, this one has dried down to a point where it's not really going to affect the next scent because it is very close to the skin or in many cases usually just completely gone by the time the evening rolls around. So I don't mind that it doesn't perform, and I don't think it was necessarily meant to. Once again, from Versace, this is Man Eau Fraiche. Alright, so next one is coming from the house of Yves Saint Laurent. I know people have complained about this fragrance, many fragrances in this line not performing well, but we're going to talk about it right now. La Nuit de l'Homme, Bleu Electrique. I am including the original La Nuit de l'Homme in this as well. I just don't have that one. I have the Bleu Electrique at this time. So this is cardamom and lavender, spicy, a little bit fresh. Perfect date night fragrance basically, and that is the reason why it doesn't necessarily need to be a beast mode performer. Like I said, it has cardamom, it also has ginger, it has the lavender, and also geranium, cedarwood, and vetiver. So this being primarily a date night fragrance, although you can use it for other stuff, I think it was designed for that purpose. When you're going out on a date, do you really need a fragrance to last you 20 hours? 12 hours, 10 hours, when the date at most is probably going to be 4 to 5. And I mean, from the time you pick the person up to the time you drop them off, unless, there's some after night activities, that's a little different, but still. The point of this fragrance is to work for the evening occasion that is not going to last all night and you're not necessarily going to be active. The fragrance is sexy, it's meant to be alluring and inviting, so you want the person to come into your space, not push them away with having a super loud fragrance. So this fragrance functions in that manner. Can totally understand if you want this to last long. It is an awesome scent profile, and it has been around and spawned this many flankers for a reason. The flanker of the flanker being La Nuit de l'Homme. But that being said, I mean, the fragrance performs the way it's supposed to, the way it was designed to be a date night fragrance. So personally, I don't have a problem with the performance because of that. Once again, from Yves Saint Laurent, this is La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. Alright, so the next one's coming from the house of Tommy Bahama. This is Saint Kitts. Tommy Bahama, Saint Kitts. I believe the name of this line is the Set Sail line. All these, Tommy Bahama fragrances in these style bottles. This one right here is citrus, salty aquatic notes, and a little bit of musk. So first and foremost, this fragrance is not going to be a monster performer because it's an eau de cologne. Alright, so why would they make it an eau de cologne, you might ask? The fragrances smell so great because, these fragrances are very, very fresh, very bright and uplifting, and perfect like vacation on the beach kind of sense. Well, as an eau de cologne, it behaves a certain way. It has an airiness to it. It carries in the wind a certain way that just is very fresh and very light, almost misty-like. And that's not a bad thing. The fragrance works so well because it's like that. If it was a parfum and it just was really rich and dense as a result, it wouldn't come off that way. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a great scent, it just would not behave the same way. Also, I think it's a cost effectiveness thing. They didn't want these fragrances to be very expensive, so they decided to make them eau de colognes. I don't know this for sure, this is just my opinion, but the fragrance performs the way it does and works the way it does because it was presented that way and they wanted to present it that way. And as a result, it's not necessarily a super strong performer. And I'm okay with that. Once again, from Tommy Bahama, this is Saint Kitts. Alright, so moving on now. I will say that this is the only fragrance on this list that I agree with most people that it should perform longer, based on the note breakdown alone, to be honest. From the house of Burberry, this is Burberry London. Burberry London. I think most people agree that you can dub this Christmas time or holiday season in a bottle. It's spicy, it is woody, there's a port wine accord in here that makes it very interesting, and there's heavier notes in this that, you would think would make the fragrance last a lot longer, but it just simply doesn't. This one has cinnamon leaf, lavender, port wine, leather, gaiac wood, oak bark, and tobacco as some of the notes. It is a great smelling fragrance, it just doesn't last that long, and the only thing I can come up with is they wanted this one to be a cost-effective fragrance, so to have those notes be included, they had to either use a weaker concentration of them. I'm not necessarily saying they used a lower quality of them. Fragrance actually smells of great quality in my opinion. I just think they couldn't really go heavy with some of the heavier oils to make it cost effective. So this would be just one of the ones where I would agree with most people. This one should last longer just based off of what's in it, but unfortunately it doesn't. But you know what? Given what you would associate this one with, the holiday season, primarily me, I would wear it at a holiday dinner with family. To get through that dinner, I don't need it to last 18 hours. So, you know, I still think it works well for what it is. From the house of Burberry, this is London. Okay, so this next one's coming from the house of Etat Libre d'Orange, ELDO. This is You or Someone Like You. Etat Libre d'Orange, You or Someone Like You. So this fragrance is all about mint, green notes, and musk. Some of the other featured notes are chlorophyll, grass, rose, and geranium. This fragrance is refreshing, it's clean, it's green. Like I said, it's a mint lover's dream, really. If you like mint, you will definitely like this fragrance. But it doesn't last all day. However, this is not a bad performing one. It's like 6 to 8 hours, but it kind of sits a little bit closer to the skin, you know, kind of halfway through, and doesn't really change much after that. It becomes pretty much all musk, and to me, it is a little bit of a funky musk, at least off of my skin. But I don't mind that, because to me, that musky dry down is creating a great base for me to put another fragrance on top of it for the evening. So I don't mind that this one is not a long-lasting fragrance. And also, with the scent profile that it has, as much as I enjoy it, it's not something I would want to smell all day long. Particularly, like I said, this fragrance doesn't go through a lot of changes throughout the life of the fragrance. It's mint, green notes, and dries down to musk, and that's it. If it just stayed that way and was just blasting off my skin all day, I'd honestly get a little tired of it, because there's not a whole lot to this fragrance. It's pretty simplistic in what it offers. From Etat Libre d'Orange, this is You or Someone Like You. All right, and last but not least, from the house of Dolce & Gabbana, this is the one. Dolce & Gabbana's the one. Yeah, definitely one that people have complained about performance. They want it to last long, primarily because, hey, it just smells so good. People love the way this smells, and they just wish it would stay on them longer because they want to keep coming back to it. I get it, I'm with you on that. That being said, this is the quintessential designer date night fragrance. This one, to me, set the bar for a designer, affordable designer date night fragrance across the board, and still one of the best ones out there. Because it's a date night fragrance similar to La Nuit de l'Homme, it should perform well for that occasion, a date night. It doesn't need to last all night. It needs to last a few hours, at least to get you through the date. If you needed to apply to after date activities, spray a little bit more on. Features notes like grapefruit, basil, orange blossom, cardamom, tobacco, and amber. It's spicy, it's woody, it's sweet. It is a beautiful fragrance. It does not last long. Get over it, to be honest. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, you know, like I said, based off of what it was designed to do, it does that perfectly. And honestly, I can get up to 8 hours out of this if I, you know, kind of prep my skin to receive it that way. But yeah, it's primarily, for most folks, it's going to be like a 6-hour fragrance, which is more than enough time to get you through that date night scenario, which is what this was made for. Once again, from Dolce & Gabbana, this is the one. And I have the Eau de Parfum in particular, but this applies to the Eau de Toilette too. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. Those were fragrances that do not perform that well, and I'm okay with them. That being said, I'm not saying you have to be okay with them too. If you like performance, if that's something that's high on your important list, do what you need to do. Don't get mad at me, because I am pointing out fragrances that don't last long, and I don't think it's that big a deal that they don't. It's just my opinions. This is all entertainment at the end of the day. Let me know if there are some fragrances that you have that don't last that long, but you actually don't mind that they don't. Put it down in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Remember to be well and smell well, and I hope to see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Take care, guys.